Okay, so now let's have a closer look at the application configurations. So let's go to the applications list page and then go to the OpenResty.org application. Now we've got the overview page for the application configuration panel. Here it gives a brief introduction to various pages which can be accessed from the left-hand side menu. The most important page is the releases page. In this page, you can manage any historical releases and revert to any old release or make a new release of configuration to the gateway. And here we have got the DNS page where you can configure DNS servers in the gateway. This part is optional. If you prefer running DNS service elsewhere, then you can leave this page unconfigured. The SSL page lets you configure downstream SSL and TLS certificates and private keys, as well as rate limiting in the downstream SSL handshake phase to avoid DOS attacks. The request rewrite page allows you to define early stage request rewriting rules and redirects without getting to the WAF or proxy. The WAF page provides a built-in web application firewall for your incoming traffic. We use the whole rule set of more security. The whole WAF is running on our own edge infrastructure, so it's much more efficient than more security. Apache more security module. The proxy page allows you to configure the proxy to your backend application servers. So the backend application servers are configured in the Upstream page. And you can also configure an optional cache for your HTTP responses. The response rewrite page allows you to configure custom rules for rewriting response headers, and in the future also response body later. And the error logs page allows you to view real-time error log messages for the current application. The metrics page allows you to view real-time metrics for the current application. In the future, we will also allow defining custom metrics on the fly. The user access control page allows you to grant access to other normal users and also manage their permissions, like read and write and release permissions in this application. The test page allows you to craft and send test requests to the current application gateway without actually releasing the changes to the gateway. Okay, so now let's look inside the Upstream page, which defines the origin servers or backend servers for the current application's gateway. Each Upstream is a cluster of backend servers, which can have more than one node. Here we only have one node for each Upstream cluster. One is a Hong Kong Upstream and one is a Singapore Upstream. One interesting thing is that the Hong Kong node is actually part of the gateway defined here. You can see that the IP address is the same, 147. Let's go back. So the trick here is that we can set up a simple, naive tiered caching mechanism here so that we can take advantage of the better network in Hong Kong when going back to mainland China. Our main origin server is the Singapore node in AWS, Amazon EC2 services. Public IP address is 188. We only use the SSL protocol to go back to the origin site, as we can see from here, the port number 443. You can check out more details by clicking on the Edit Upstream link. We can control the protocol. We go to the origin site, either HTTP or HTTPS, and we can configure the origin server's or the backend server's IP address and port number. We have to use the public IP address here because it has to go through the internet. And also you can specify a wait number in case that you have multiple upstream nodes in the same upstream cluster. As we can see, we can define multiple nodes here. We can also toggle the status of each upstream node by either enable or disable it. So disabled upstream node won't get any traffic from the gateway. It's just invisible. We can specify an upstream name in whatever text. Okay, let's cancel this. So the Hong Kong upstream should be similar to the real AWS origin. We can create brand new upstreams by clicking on the new upstream button. So once we defined the upstream clusters, we can make use of them in the proxy page by actually routing traffic to the upstreams. Here we can define more than one proxy rules, which are essentially routing rules. The default rule should be in the end of the list. Rules appeared first have higher priorities, so the order matters. And each proxy rule also can have conditions. For example, the default rule is a non-conditional rule. We route the traffic to the AWS Singapore upstream, previously defined in the upstream page. And we also make Hong Kong upstream the backup upstream. And we can choose the round-robin balancing policy and also the number of retries and also the retry condition in case of bad response status codes like 500, 502, and 504. And we can also add multiple upstream targets like this, and also multiple backend upstreams. You can choose predefined upstreams from here. Okay, let's remove this. And some of the proxy rules can take conditions. For example, for our tiered network, we can route the traffic hitting the Hong Kong gateway to the real origin server. And for traffic hitting our Shenzhen gateway cluster, we can route the traffic to our Hong Kong gateway. So essentially it forms a chain, right? The first two rules. So this way we can control how Chinese traffic is routed to the AWS origin server. Of course, this is not so accomplishing because we only configure the traffic hitting our Shenzhen gateway cluster. Okay, let's check one of these rules that take conditions. Similar to the last rule, we can configure upstream target and backup upstream target, as well as balancing policies like consistent hash or round robin. For consistent hash, we can also configure a hash variable to be some user-defined variable. And we can also add more than one hash variables here. And here we uncheck the unconditionally toggle button so that we can configure a custom condition. Only when this condition is met, the traffic will be routed to the targets. Otherwise, the subsequent rules will be tried instead. So here we have one condition, which is when the gateway cluster equals to Aliyun Hong Kong gateway. And we can also add more conditions which will be AND together with previous ones. And also we can have more values to be compared. So these values will be ORed together. So any one of value equals to the variable, then this condition will be true. Okay, let's cancel this rule without messing up our online configurations. As we can see that the proxy rules can be very powerful and there can be multiple layers of networking. And also you can have clusters of upstream clusters defining a single proxy rule. And for the higher level of clusters, it uses the same balancing policy used inside an upstream.